This episode is brought to you by Pure Energy Apothecary, a woman-owned skincare and wellness brand founded by my friend Dawn Lancaster. Dawn and I go way back, deep diving into essential oils. We shared a passion for creating intentional products, just like the ones Dawn continues to craft today with Pure Energy Apothecary. When Dawn said she wanted to offer you 20% off Pure Energy products, I was thrilled. Pure Energy products are handmade in Vermont with ingredients you can pronounce, and they smell amazing. They are rooted in real aromatherapy. Visit pureenergyvt.com and use the code PURECHANGE for 20% off just for being a part of the Change Happened community. Pure products, pure purpose, pure energy. Welcome to Change Happened, Then What? Where in Season 2, you'll hear voices drawn here by one thing: change. Each episode brings you a story of hope, unpolished and unfiltered, where stories got messy, where people questioned everything, but also where they found a way forward. And maybe, just maybe, you'll find your own next steps in their words. Because when life breaks open, that's often when the most beautiful truths finally have room to grow. I'm your host, Heather Holt, and I am so happy to have you here today. Before we dive into this week's episode, a quick shout out about last week's Change Challenge question. If you answered over a restaurant, you were right, and you're officially entered to win this month's giveaway, your choice of a super soft Change Happened Then What tee or trucker hat. And hey, well, I've got you. If you haven't followed the show yet or left a quick 5-star rating or review, now would be the perfect time. It helps more than you know and keeps these powerful stories reaching new ears every week. All right, let's dive in. Imagine this. You work from home, it's mid-afternoon, and you've got a few routines. Let's call them tendencies that help you keep on track every day. At exactly 2 p.m., you head out back to feed the koi fish in your pond. The sun's warm, the garden's quiet, everything's calm, and suddenly, a bee. And not just any bee. You're allergic. Deathly allergic. And before you can even react, everything goes black. Today, I'm sharing the story of Rob, a man whose fear of a single bee set off a chain of events that would completely change his life. What began as an ordinary afternoon in the garden turned into a moment that changed everything he thought he knew about control, courage, and what it really means to get back up again.
You can set a clock by me. But I went out at 2 o'clock, like I do every single day, to feed my fish. And upon coming back in the back door, a bee flew by my head. And I am very allergic. So yeah, that freaked me out when that happened. And I just happened to be opening the back door at the same time. The bee flew by my head. So I had a knee-jerk reaction. I bent over to duck as I was opening the door, and I slashed my head open, knocked myself out. And when I came to, I was holding my head and I thought, man, that's going to leave a mark tomorrow. And then when I pulled my hand away from my skull, I saw it was covered in blood and I thought, this is not good. And my wife was home that day and she comes outside and it looked like a murder scene in the backyard patio. When I do something, I do it big. She says, what happened? And I was still in shock, and I couldn't get my words to come out, so all that was coming out of my mouth was B, 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 B. And she's like, that's a lot of blood for a bee sting. So she finally got out of me what happened, and she's like, well, okay, we've got to get you to the hospital. I was more concerned about giving my boss a call because I was still on the clock. So she runs in and grabs my cell phone, and she comes back out, and I called her, and I couldn't get my words out. And Sheila, my wife, she told my boss what was going on, and she's like, "Get to the hospital before I die. I just want to let you know I'm having an emergency." I call her Daryl Earnhardt Jr. too because she got me to the hospital in record time.
So Dale Jr., better known as Sheila, the love of Rob's life, gets him to the hospital. It's during COVID, so just getting into the ER is an adventure. But once they're in, things go as usual. Routine for someone who's shown up with a big gouge in their head. Numb it, clean it, staple it, send him on his way. No big warning, no, hey, this might change your life. Just, you're good to go. But what no one could see that day was that Rob's real injury wasn't the one you could just staple. With mild traumatic brain injuries, it's usually pretty common to look okay at first. Scans look normal, you can walk, you can talk, you can even joke with the nurse, and still have a brain that's been shaken in ways you won't fully understand until days, weeks, or even months later. And Rob, he was one of those people.
Because, they send you home from the hospital and they say, oh, rest a few days and go back to work when you're ready. And then that's the worst advice that anybody can give you.
So that was the start of many days of me laying in bed with a migraine headache. I've actually had a migraine now for, it'll be 5 years in July.
My wife, she says, we got to get you in to see a specialist.
Sheila, being who she is, was on it. And I mean on it. She researched, cross-checked, deep dove, and could probably have earned a medical degree by the end of it. She found what she thought was the right specialist for Rob. But remember, this is during COVID, so she couldn't go with him. The clinic was just over the border, and Rob, aka Captain Buzzfear, had to go it alone. Months later, still unaware of what that knock to the head had really done to Rob, he found himself mid-pandemic, masked, foggy, and trying to navigate a new doctor's office solo, the kind of adventure no one signs up for, especially when your brain's running a few seconds behind the rest of the world.
We knew that I had issues with my memory. The day before, she drove me over there to show me how to get over where I was going and then how to get back. The next day, I left him plenty of time, and thankfully I gave myself a long time to get over there because as soon as I crossed the bridge, I forgot where I was going and I drove to an old job that I used to work at. I pulled into the parking lot and of course the place wasn't there anymore. It was a different company and I'm like, oh crap, I'm supposed to be the neurologist. So I drove back to downtown Louisville, Kentucky, and I eventually did find where I was going. I don't know how I did it, but I did find it. And I walked in and I had 5 minutes to spare before my appointment time. And this doctor is very strict. If you are late, he will not see you. Even if it's a minute late, he will not see you. And he comes in and he asks me a bunch of questions. And the first question he asked me was, what's your date of birth? And I couldn't remember. He slammed his pen on the desk and he said, the questions are just going to get harder from here. I almost burst out in tears. I'm like, why would you say that to someone that's got a brain injury? So I just kind of floated through the rest of the interview, and I couldn't wait to get out of there. And my wife says, we're getting you a new doctor.
Give the gift of calm. Dear Sweet One lullabies are personalized, astrology-inspired stories set to soft, soothing music, each one handcrafted to bring peace and connection. Whether you're welcoming a new baby, searching for a meaningful gift, or simply craving a moment of stillness, these lullabies are a beautiful way to say you are loved. Visit ChangeHappenedPodcast.com to order yours today.
The new doctor, he's like, okay, we're going to start you on, we're going to try Botox and see if that works. He says, let's get you out of pain. And he's went down the gamut. He has literally tapped every medication he could think of. I'm either allergic to it or it just does nothing for me. The one smart thing that I did was from the first day that I hit my head, I was grading my headache levels on a scale from 1 to 10, and my average was about a 5 to a 6. And then I got my ears pierced, and it dropped it down to like a 2 to a 3. I had some really good days. And then when they came out with the COVID shot, and it shot up to an 8, 9, and it never came back down. And then we did the booster. And it's been at a 10 ever since.
Did you catch that in Rob's speech? He said it twice. 10. Most people would just say 10. I heard this a few times in our conversation whenever he talked about double-digit numbers. Later, he told me that ever since his TBI, he can't really say double-digit numbers anymore. It's like he sees the numbers as singles, so they come out that way. 24 becomes 24, not 24. From what I've learned, that's actually not unusual after a brain injury. When the brain gets hurt, especially in areas that handle language and numbers, it can reroute how things get processed. Some people struggle with names, some with directions, and some, like Rob, with how numbers come out. A surprising number of people with TBI have lingering challenges in how they speak or find words, even when they look totally fine on the outside. Also, I wanted to clarify something with Rob about his headaches versus migraines, because it really matters, especially for anyone listening who lives with migraines. They're not just headaches. Migraines can absolutely be debilitating. If you've ever had one, you know you can't even pick up your head. I've had a few in my life, and even watched my husband go through them too. It's painful to watch. And these days, I live with chronic headaches myself, so this part of Rob's story really hit home. He told me that right after his injury, what he had were full-on migraines, and that left him completely down. Now, after all this time, he'd call them more chronic headaches, but the pain still feels like a migraine, just without some of the extra tag-alongs. And again, that tracks with what happens for a lot of people after a brain injury. So many survivors end up with long-term migraine-like headaches that linger far beyond the first hospital visit. For Rob, it's a mix of both. That constant ache and those waves of pain that remind him his brain is still healing, even when the rest of the world thinks he's better.
So finally one day I was complaining to my counselor. I said, I can't sleep at night because of the pain. So I get on YouTube and I search around and I try to find something where people are talking about their brain injuries and what they're going through. And I said, all I can find are medical professionals saying, this is what a brain injury is, and this is your symptoms and all that. I said, that does not help me at all. I knew if I was looking for something, I knew other people had to be as well. And I was so lost and lonely, and I just didn't know what to do other than to help others.
You see, that's just Rob's nature, to help others. After his injury, he did what he always does. Research. He dove into everything he could find about brain injuries, recovery, and treatment. But what he discovered was that what people needed most wasn't more information. It was connection, the stories, the human side of healing. So, Rob built what he couldn't find. He created an online support group dedicated exclusively to brain injury survivors, a safe, welcoming space where thousands could feel seen, understood, and supported. And that's not all. Rob created My Life Rewired, the brain injury podcast, a platform where survivors, caregivers, and professionals could share their stories out loud, stories that reminded listeners they're not alone, and that healing often begins the moment someone finally feels heard. That's who Rob is, a man who took what broke him and turned it into something that helped others rebuild.
The first actual guest that we actually had, her name was Dawn Corbelli. So hers was the first book that I actually read since my injury, and I told her, I said, you gave me my love of reading back. Had I not interviewed you, I probably still wouldn't be reading. And I told her, I said, it's always been a dream of mine to write a book. And she goes, you should. So we've had a connection ever since, and we've become really great friends. And she was always going, you going to write that book? You can write that book? So finally, you know what? I want to write the book.
After all that, the research, the support group, the podcast, Rob wrote a book. You guessed it. He got it published. It's called My Life Rewired. It's about more than his brain injury. It's about his life, everything he's been through, everything he's learned. I'll put links in the show notes if you'd like to read it. It's pretty good. I asked Rob what he thought was the most challenging thing about living with a TBI.
Every day is a question mark, and my short-term memory. We're always having conversations around the house. I'll talk about somebody, and my wife will have to tell me that they're passed away. So then you get to relive that all over again. And then it's not that you're afraid to go out by yourself, but you don't want to go very far from the home because you don't know when you're going to have a meltdown or forget where you're at. I had a bad meltdown the other day at the drive-thru, and it was so stupid, but you know how you pull up to the thing and they tell you to take your order? Well, I rely heavily on that board so I can say what I'm wanting. Well, the lady says, pull around to the window to take your order. I could already feel my heart racing. So I pulled up to the window and I tried to tell the woman what I wanted and I couldn't come out. And the lady was so kind. She says, honey, it's okay. She says, we'll figure this out together. We'll work this together. She said, this is what we have for breakfast. And she just goes through the whole menu. And when she got to what I wanted, I said, that's it. I want that. I felt so stupid, but it happens. It's a challenge, having a brain injury, and people just don't see it because you look normal.
Here's the thing about a brain injury. Like Rob said, you look normal. And hey, it's not like we can walk around with a cast on our head that says, I'm broken. And there's no neon flashing sign that says, slow down, I don't think or talk like you. And here's the big thing. No two brain injuries are alike. Yes, there may be some similarities, moments where survivors relate, threads that tie them together, but every experience is different. Every brain heals in its own way, in its own timeline. In fact, according to the Brain Injury Association of America, no two brain injuries produce the same symptoms or recovery path. Factors like severity, location, age, and pre-existing health can make every case completely unique. That's why Rob felt so alone in the beginning, and why he had such a strong desire to create a space where people could be seen and heard, a place where they could say what they needed to say without judgment and still feel held. So, next time you're out in the world and you see someone struggling a little, be a little more like that kind soul at the drive-thru who said, "We'll figure this out together," because you never know, you might be the reason someone feels just 10% better that day. So as Rob and I wrapped up our conversation, I asked him what makes him smile today, besides making other people smile, his wife and his cat, because those I already knew. And here's what he had to say.
I found peace in the distractions. It's when I'm laying here still and not doing anything.
Simple. Just rest. I can relate. So when I asked for that one piece of advice, these were his words.
Always look for the happy.
Not surprising coming from Rob. You should check out some of his social media. He's always finding ways to make people laugh, and I think that's one of the best things about him. Rob and I had one of those "have we met before" connections the very first time we talked. It felt instant, like we'd known each other forever. Since that day, we've become good friends, checking in regularly and cheering each other on as we both try to make people smile through their own tough days. So, in true brains thinking alike fashion, we decided to start a little side project together. It's still in its early stages. We've only written a couple episodes so far, but we're calling it Two Brains, No Filter. And since Rob's episode airs this week, we thought it would be fun to share a sneak peek preview with you this Thursday in lieu of one of my traditional smile drops. We'd love to hear what you think when it launches, so stay tuned and let us know on either of our social medias. And just a quick reminder, brain injuries aren't linear, and they don't look the same for everyone. There's still so much research being done, and even more understanding to come. If you're living with a brain injury and looking for a community where you can feel less alone, visit myliferewired.com to learn more about Rob and the work he's doing to help others feel seen and supported in this big wild world we live in. All the links are listed in the show notes and at changehappenedpodcast.com. And now for this week's Change Challenge question. What nickname did Rob give his wife while she was driving him to the hospital? Remember, this is the last week to enter before our first drawing for a super soft tee or trucker hat happening November 18th. You can enter at changehappenedpodcast.com. If this episode spoke to your heart, I'd love for you to visit changehappenedpodcast.com to join our monthly mailing list. It's also where stories like this continue, with blog reflections, more about each guest, and ways you can support the show. And if you've got 30 seconds, leaving a review or 5 stars helps more people like you find stories like this. Think of it as paying for your coffee at the local coffee shop. Change Happened, Then What? Is written, edited, and produced by me, Heather Holt, with the loyal background vocals from my 2 sidekicks, Waylon and Dalton. Until next time, keep smiling, and maybe let your dog produce your next big idea.
There's always a reason to always choose joy. There's something deeper that the world can't destroy. Smile when you think you can't. Smile, get up and dance. Smile, there's a bigger plan. The storm only lasts for a while. So smile.